We are here with the Bridges Hip Hop talking on that jazz with G Fields, the one and only. I have here today my special guest, Evonee, the bipolar goddess. Very interesting talent, very
Thank you.
interesting woman here. Come from many walks of life here.
Mhm.
Um, I would say Leo Virgo coming into the game,
Mhm.
strong with the violin. So just tell us a little bit how you got into, the violin and why did you choose that particular instrument?
Absolutely. So, even from an early age, I've always loved music. I started off on hip hop, like listening to Common, um, just a lot of that classic hip hop style, a lot of old school jazz, so like Ella Fitzgerald, John Coltrane. I could go on and on with
Right.
different artists. But then one day, my mom was, I think we were riding to soccer practice or something, and she played something by Vivaldi. I can't really remember what it was, but it struck me so hard that it was just like, yo, what is that sound? Like I want to do whatever that is that I'm hearing. So a few years later in middle school, they introduce you to all the instruments, and I already knew everyone was going to pick violin. I didn't want to jump on that bandwagon. Cello, even though I was little, I was like, okay, my mom's a single mom. Cello's kind of expensive. I don't want to put that burden on her.
Ooh, wow.
and then the upright bass, it was just too big. It was just too much. So the only instrument left was viola, and it was such a unique instrument that's what I wanted to go to.
Wow. So the viola and the violin in the same family, so to speak, but
Mm-hmm.
what's the difference between the two?
Right. So violin's going to be more of your going to be a more higher pitched instrument, whereas viola, it's known as the instrument closest to the human voice, so it's going to have more of a mellow tone. I like telling people it's really just like a handheld cello. That's all it is.
Oh, wow. So it's very interesting because I play the saxophone and it is one of the only, well, the only instrument that's designed to mimic the human voice to the T. That's why a lot
Mhm.
of times songs are being played by a saxophone because it is
Mhm.
actually a voice. So
Yeah.
that's an interesting subject because I think that that would be something very, very unique to put the viola with the sax,
Yeah.
because I do know the understanding of the orchestra. So do you come from the background of band before you started R&B and branching out to other genres of music? How was that band challenge? How was that growing up and actually having to read sheet music?
I loved it. I was obsessed when I first started. Like the first night my mom got me my viola for class. Like I stayed up all night going through essential elements, playing. What was that song called? Three Blind Mice, Ode to Joy, just like over and over again. I was just so excited
Did you
with
just
what
know
I
how
was
to play
doing.
it off the rip, or you already had a little practice?
Kind of, sort of. So, my mom, she always kept instruments in the house, like a piano and a guitar. So, I knew sounds. I knew what things should sound like. So, when I did finally get a string instrument, I just kind of applied that same knowledge.
All right, so very interesting. The fingering of the viola and violin,
Mhm.
I know it's a technique,
Mhm.
which you're kind of strumming with string,
Yeah.
and I always wanted to know, you know, your fingers get sore at all from plucking the strings, or is this a method where you're plucking the strings as well?
Mhm. Yeah. So like pizzicatos when we're plucking, and then just regular arco when we're bowing. But at first, yes, you will get blisters. Your
Oh,
fingers will
wow.
be sore. I remember even when I first started learning upright bass, finally in high school.
Oh, okay, that's one of my
Um,
favorites.
yeah, it's really fun to play. But yeah, upright bass is,
The strings are thicker.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. It's like plucking tree stumps. It's crazy.
Well, for a female, I know that can be very challenging.
Mhm.
How do you design your nails now today? Are you even allowed to even wear nails and still do what you do?
No. I do have a friend. Her name's Jordan. She plays cello, so she has press-on nails that she wears. She just
Oh,
trims them down. But for me, I just like to keep them short, keep them natural.
yeah. So you
Occasionally,
can,
get them painted.
yeah. So you can get into your craft because it's
Absolutely.
important, right?
Mhm.
That's a sacrifice, here
Yeah.
today. Being a female and not,
Mhm.
being
All my
able to.
friends are clickety
Yeah,
clack and.
yeah, right. You know what you got to do though. So that tells me right there that you're very passionate about what you do. And I just want you to know that, I'm very excited to have you on this show because
Thank you.
the foundation is important to me, and the instrument that you playing is a huge part of the foundation of music. This horn
Mhm.
goes. I mean, this not when we say horn, the instrument goes back as far as I'm sure the 17th century.
Mhm.
You know, how do you feel about the older artists that are like in Beethoven and that type of era that was, they're really great. Do you mimic any of those songs? Do you play any of those records? Because I know those are some very serious
Mhm.
triplets and a lot of things
Yep.
going on. So the dynamics of that music is totally different. So how do you see that classical part being different from the R&B? Because I know everything is orchestrated with hooks and verses. With
Mhm.
R&B, you kind of stuck in a vibe of
Right.
redundancy, repeating things. But when you're actually playing classical music, it's like it's a lot
Mhm.
going on. So what's the difference for you?
I would say one of the differences it's like classical music is very, I want to say, militant. So like you have the sheet music, it's like this or it's wrong. Period. If this measure is piano triplets and you don't play piano triplets, but the rest of the orchestra is, you are completely wrong. Whereas in R&B and jazz, you have a little bit more of that freedom. But at the same time, you get more discipline, I would think, with classical music. Whereas, a lot of gigs where I am doing like R&B and just like improvising, again, you have that freedom. You can, explore a little bit, try something new. You better not do that with no Tchaikovsky. You better not
Yeah.
with
So,
Beethoven.
so are there any greats that you can name off the top of your head that you may feel like you want to pay homage to, like anybody that we may not even know that you want to introduce to the world or the
Hmm.
audience? Any names?
I would say one of my favorites is, and you guys might actually know her, Regina Carter.
Hmm.
She's a very popular jazz violinist. She's probably one of the first violinists I've seen live
Oh
play in
wow.
a contemporary style, and it was just like, as a black woman seeing that, it was just like, I want to do it too. I want to join in too and kind of have that black girl magic. There's a few others. Jean Luc Dupont, he's really good. I love his albums on Spotify. My mind is drawing a blank because there's one more violinist I love
It's
listening
okay.
to,
We got a
but
whole hour. We can definitely
yeah.
come circle back. But I do
Mhm.
want to say that as a black violinist, a black woman, you're definitely part of the elite and the foundation
Thank
of violinists and people who play those type of instruments. Especially women.
you. Mhm.
So you are part of the beginning of the foundation because I'm starting to see more now.
Mhm.
People that's kind of getting into the hip hop, jazz, and
Mhm.
the culture never really had that.
Yeah.
I come from a long list of artists and years dating back to the 70s, late 70s, that I never really saw the interaction with the violin in
Yeah.
hip hop or R&B. So now it's so prominent now,
Mhm.
and for you to be on that board, like it's crazy because I'm
Thank
telling
you.
you, it's probably less than 100 of you
Mhm.
in the world,
Right. Yeah.
or probably less than 100
Yeah.
that's on that scale. So that is a very big accomplishment, and I want to just
Thank you
celebrate you
so
for
much.
that, and definitely salute you for that. So, you want to tell us about your gigs and how do you get picked for your gigs, or what gigs do you prefer, or what
Mhm.
would you try to stay away from? Because I know you get the calls, you don't always accept everything. So,
Mhm.
give us a little bit of how that dynamics work.
Right. So some of my gigs, thank the Lord, are from word of mouth.
Thank the Lord. Shout out to the Lord.
I love the word of mouth ones because it just really kind of takes it all back to, the hard work that you do. You played at somebody's wedding or somebody's birthday party and you did such an amazing job impressing everyone and playing so well that they took the time out to refer you to their cousin, friend, coworker, whatever. So I love word of mouth gigs, make me feel a little special.
That's right. You are special.
Um, thank you. Then of course there's social media, so you upload like a little sample of you playing, and then sometimes I'll have somebody in the comments like, how can I get you for my wedding, or how
Mm.
can I get you for XYZ. And then there are some outside services that I use as well that will send
Management
me
stuff.
leads.
Mm. Okay.
So they'll send me a lead for here. I'm trying to expand my network to like Los Angeles and Florida a little bit more. So
It's a big
occasionally I'll
market,
get
especially
some.
in Los Angeles. Yeah,
Yes.
super big, super
I
big. A
love
lot.
traveling there too.
And
It's so
I'm
beautiful.
so amazed at your talent. You have so many different connections. We talked about earlier on before this interview. We got into a little bit of the zodiac sign,
Mhm.
and I know that the zodiac sign is very, very important to the spirit.
Yeah.
So I want to know how that connects you with your instrument.
Right. Right. So I would say it's been a journey as an artist because just Evonee as a person, I am very reserved, very held back. I don't go out to clubs and stuff like that. Like I said before, I'm not really extroverted. I'm like an introverted extrovert. I have my moments.
Okay, okay.
But as an artist, I've learned over time that you have to give that energy. You can't
Absolutely.
always be that shy person in the background. Sometimes you got to say, I'm that girl. Like
Right,
we here.
right.
So to kind of answer your question, I was born in a cusp, so Leo Virgo, August 20th. So it's like that Leo side is the side that I try to pull out when I'm in performances, that fire,
Mm.
that energy. Whereas the Virgo side, sometimes it'll come out in performances depending on the gig. But a lot of times the Virgo side it comes through more of the sound of the music.
Mm.
So a lot of times people will come up to me and say, your playing was so beautiful. It just made me want to cry. It was just so mesmerizing. I feel like that's more of the Virgo side kind of coming through.
Ah, that was a super connection. I am the son of two Leos. Both my
Nice.
parents are Leos, but I'm a
Mhm.
Pisces.
Mm.
Very interesting.
Mhm.
So I connect with my zodiac as well. Water sign. Not enough water to kill you. Too much to kill you.
Mhm.
So I feel like they say you can't be mad at water for being wet.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, I feel like zodiac is very important. Me being a jazz player, it's a vibe,
Mhm.
and the energy is everything
Yeah.
when you playing your instrument. You got to dig down deep for air. For
Yeah.
me, in my case, you got to dig down deep for thought. You got to be in thought and in
Mhm.
tune with those notes and those triplets when they're coming. You got to watch for the chord progressions.
Mhm.
Everything is a vibe. And
Mhm.
I feel like jazz is meant to be felt, not heard.
Mm.
And a lot of other music, I know R&B is kind of based on lyrics, and lyrics make people feel good, so they kind of
Yeah.
get lost sometimes with the music. So how does that make you feel? Because you come from pretty much an instrumentalist
Mhm.
side to playing lyrics where people want to sing along, even though
Yup.
you're playing it, they still in their mind mimicking or hearing the words. But sometimes it's hard to get the instrumentation when there's lyrics on top of it.
Mhm.
And you know as well as I know, you would rather play over an instrumental than to play over
Yeah.
a song. But
Mhm.
sometimes people probably ask you to play with the record, right?
Yeah.
How do you feel about that?
Um, of course, if they're paying me, I'm gonna do what they ask.
Okay, okay.
But of course, at the same time, I do prefer playing over instrumentals. It is a little weird sometimes because I'll do different events where there might be a vocalist there as well, and it's so easy for vocalists to get the crowd going because it's
Absolutely.
automatic, like the
I
lyrics are
agree.
right there.
Yeah.
But when you're playing an instrument, you really do have to like
We pull it out of
and
them.
then people already when they're coming out to an event or something like that, it's like they want to come out but they don't really want to have fun, so you have to work so hard as an
You have to
instrumentalist.
literally entertain.
Yeah,
And it's not
absolutely.
something that's predictable, like they know what you're gonna do. They're
Mhm.
expecting. It's like they're watching like, let's get it out. What you doing?
Mhm.
What you coming with?
Mhm.
If you're a singer and you like, as soon as you start singing, they know the song, they vibing with you. But
Exactly.
when you're
Yeah.
an instrumentalist, you're like, oh, what's she gonna do now?
Mhm.
How's she gonna make me feel?
Mhm.
So sometimes that's a big challenge. Any albums or any singles you want to talk about that you can tell us about, like your first album or your first single, or how did that work out for you?
I would say an official album or single. I would say not yet.
Oh, still
I
to
think
come.
it was, yeah, it's still coming. I would say was it last. I can't remember what year that was, but I went to LA for an event, and I was just like, you know what? I haven't put out anything yet. I want to do a Christmas album.
Oh wow,
I had tried to link up
interesting.
with the producer beforehand, but he ghosted me, so I was just immediately just like, all right, I'm gonna do this myself. Like I got this. So I booked studio time. I think from like 7 p.m. to 7 a.m.
Ooh.
I was on Clubhouse, so I like got on Clubhouse like, hey, free studio time if somebody
Right,
wants
right.
to like collab or something like that. Um, Nobody came through because I was just new to LA, so everyone
Hmm.
was like, who is this? Uh, but but yeah, out of that entire night, I did get one single out.
Okay.
But again, it's not official. It was literally just something I did half asleep, trying to
It's
record, trying
probably
to.
it's probably amazing.
It's alright. I'll say that. It's alright. I listened to it the other day and I was just like, ooh,
Well,
I see what I was trying to do.
but we make our music for the people,
Mhm.
and sometimes we don't make it for ourselves, even though we critique it ourselves like to the fullest. But sometimes people like whatever you put out there. And it's
Yeah.
the energy that you put out there, and you can never tell how they're going to receive a record.
Yeah.
I put out an album April 15th, and there's some songs on there that's really not my favorites, but people
Mhm.
love those records. I'm like, this
Mhm.
record? You like this one better than this
What
one?
about this one? Try
Yeah,
this
I'm trying to
one.
shove them this one, and they're like, nah, but that just goes to show you that you got to let the people judge your music. But
Mhm.
there is a fine line of critiquing where you haven't given 110%, and you want to give that 110% so that
Right.
people can be better. But it could also keep you on the fence.
Yeah.
You can be stagnant and not grow because you're just trying to be so perfect.
Yep, that's where I'm fighting at now because it's just like, it's been too long. I've
Mm.
been doing this for too long for me to not have at least one
Mm.
official single on
Right.
Spotify and Apple Music, or at least an EP or an album. But so it's just like, I know it's probably not going to be absolutely perfect,
Mm.
but I mean, find an
Yeah.
instrumental somewhere,
But
find
you're not
a
absent. You're not
absolutely, yeah.
absent because you are a live performer
Mhm.
and you're still gigging. So you're still in the
Right.
music world. You just the orchestrated sound of recording is different. I do have
Mhm.
producers, just so you know, and
Okay.
you can at the Bridges Hip Hop here at AMS, G
Mhm.
Fields Music Group. We can definitely help you with that, and help you sit down with some producers and help develop whatever sound you want. I know there's
Mhm.
specific keys that people like to play in. I know I have my own,
Mhm.
and I be hoping and wishing the band is on my accord, so
Right.
we can all be on one accord. Because
Mhm.
sometimes it's hard. It's challenging. Some scales are more challenging than others, and
Mhm.
sometimes you don't get the opportunity to play in your comfortability.
Right.
So I know that that's important. So I like to sit down with producers and let them build a draft around your sound
Mhm.
and what you're most comfortable with. Because I've heard musicians play a whole album in one key.
Mm.
Hmm.
Yeah, no, I don't want to be that
One key,
guy.
one key. But they would, music goes from A to G. They can take it and flip it in so many different ways. If they're very good at it, you would never even notice that all of
Very
the
true.
songs were
Mhm.
in that same key.
Mhm.
And then there are chord progressions that'll force you out of your comfort zone.
Mhm.
So you know, it's an amazing talent to have. It's also a very challenging. You have to practice your craft. How
Mhm.
how often do you practice?
I would say I've been a little bad. Like last month, I was not practicing the way I should have.
Right.
But I would say as of right now, I try to do on average at least 2 to 3 hours, 5 days
Mm-hmm.
a week.
2 to 3 hours.
I know that's not much, but
Yeah, because
with
I'm eight
working
hours
and
in a day.
mhm.
I know what it is. Sometimes you just don't have to carve out that time to
Yeah.
get that done. So even with me, sometimes my jaws get sore,
Mhm.
and I've been playing for hours, and sometimes I can't get up the next day. I just can't. I have to take a break from it because
Right.
either my diaphragm, my stomach is hurting from
Yeah.
trying to pull music and pull air out of it. And so sometimes I do understand, and there are other things that are very distracting because you have to have some peace when you're playing your instrument,
Mhm.
and people
Yes.
don't understand that. I mean, even just the traffic will bother you,
Mhm.
because it's very important that people know that instrumentalists. Shout out to all the instrumentalists and musicians out there because people don't understand that we need peace in order to
Yeah.
play. So if you're living in a house with somebody who's disruptive or has noisy or kids around, sometimes you may not be able to fully connect with what you do. So
Right.
where do you connect with your solitude? Do you go into a corner? Because I notice I find myself to corners to find like a little bit of acoustics so I can
Mhm.
hear myself back. Because I don't always like to put on the headphones. Sometimes I like to be kind of hear
Mhm.
natural sound.
Yeah.
So where do you go to like exercise your just connect with your solitude? Where do you
Mhm.
go?
I would say really just being at home. I just moved as well, so
Okay.
when you were talking about peace, the place that I moved from was not
Ah.
was barely like legal for a human to live in.
Oh
So
wow. Okay. I'm
so where
glad.
I'm
Shout
at,
out to you moving on.
yes, yes, Lord. So yeah, so where I'm at now, it is like it is just so peaceful. There's like a balcony with trees and
Ooh,
everything.
I know
So
that's crazy. It gotta be beautiful too.
it is. It really is. So like every time I walk through the door, I'm already kind of in that space of peace.
Connected.
I would say if anything, like when I'm really, really trying to get into practicing, sometimes I'll go into the bathroom and turn the lights off.
Mm, yeah.
Um,
People think it's weird, but it's those moments,
Yeah,
right?
it's just
You gotta
like,
find that space.
mhm.
It's just what I'm saying. It's an energy that people don't understand unless you're
Yeah.
inside of the mechanics that you understand. But for musicians, it is touching. You know, your music is touching, especially when you love it. You
Mhm.
know, you're not just doing it because you love a gig. You're doing it
Right.
because you really love doing it. Like you said, it struck you at an early age. Because the violin struck me at an early age because um, I grew up in Mississippi and it wasn't a lot to do when we were growing up. So when we were in school, band was like some. If I wasn't playing sports, band was that next thing that you want to do.
Mhm.
But they made sure that we knew orchestra before we knew anything, and it was like the weirdest thing because I'm growing up in the '70s. I'm hearing disco and all this other stuff. I'm like,
Mhm.
but this is very different from that.
Right.
But they're telling me this is the foundation. This
Mhm.
is where you're gonna learn, you know. And I was like, yeah, but it's kind of corny, you know. I want to hear this. And where's the
Mhm.
cello and you got the oboe and all these other horns,
Mhm.
and I don't see nobody on stage with these things. You know what I'm saying? So in
Right.
my mind, I'm watching Earth, Wind, and Fire. I'm like,
I don't see no piccolo up
yeah,
there.
the piccolo. These elements are crazy. Then I'm watching, you know, certain things on, you know, on TV that I see bicentennial stuff. You know,
Mhm.
things are dating back to the 17th century, and I'm seeing these instruments. I'm like, okay, well, this is very interesting. That foundation is what I was learning at that time. And when I sat down with the sheet music, and I first had my first sheet music in front of me, it looked like Chinese arithmetic. I didn't know what the hell I
Mhm.
was looking at, and I was like, oh, okay, these dots and all this other stuff. I'm used to beating on buckets and you being in the hood. Just
Yeah.
even with the buckets, I heard a tone, and you know, it was a tone, everything. So
Mhm.
when I learned that, it gave me a super basic foundation, and I am so thankful for that foundation and to know that you have something like that in your hand. Like, can you play the guitar as well?
I have tried. I did a little bit of classical guitar and I was
Mm-hmm.
okay with it, but I don't know what it is about bringing my hand from here to here. It just won't work.
But it's not like the fretboard at all. Is it not like the fretboard where you?
Nope, there are
No.
no frets. Nope,
Wow.
you are on your own.
So what's interesting is where's your guide? You know, because I'm trying to understand where is the guide. How many strings do you have?
So on my electric, I have five, but on the regular acoustic, it's four.
So it's the top and bottom string. They're both are they both the same like the guitar? They're both the same note.
No. So on my electric viola, the lowest string is C, and then G, and then D, and then A, and then E.
Oh wow, okay.
Mhm.
All right, that's very interesting because you know you got to dance around all of that with no fret.
Mhm.
Wow.
Yep. It's a lot of prayer, a lot of muscle memory, and
Yeah.
just using your ear, training your ear.
Yeah, I noticed that too. I didn't use both of my pinkies got broke when I was younger playing
Mm.
football, and I didn't realize how important the pinkies were to the saxophone,
Mhm.
and the muscle memory has not been there, and I'm still challenging right now trying to get my fingers
Yeah.
to moving because they don't remember moving, you know. So
Yeah.
now it's kind of hard to articulate the horn. So I know how important that is. That muscle memory is crazy. People don't even realize like down to the muscles in your fingers
Yeah.
have to be able to have the ability to operate from here. You telling
Mhm.
it what to do, you know, with the closing of your eyes is sending a signal to your hands, and you know, you get old, you start getting arthritis and things like that. You got to
Mhm.
be careful. Like we need our
Yeah.
fingers,
Mhm.
you know. So it is very interesting to know that there are certain things that don't work together. Like I'm thinking that it's easy to play the guitar if you can play the violin because they both string instruments. To me, they look the same, but
Mhm.
obviously they're very different.
Yeah.
And just as
Mhm.
well as saxophone, because people are like, oh well, they all look the same, but the tenor don't do what the alto do, the
Right.
baritone sax don't do what the soprano does,
Mhm.
and they're very different because one key is a scale in a different key.
Mhm.
So you know that makes sense. It makes sense to you, but I know our audience may not understand what we're talking about. But for the musicians out there that do, we have to try to get this point across and let people know that there is mechanics to what we do, and it's not just entertainment. You just out there want to show off and play your own. It's a lot of work and
Mhm.
hard work that you have to put into it. So,
Mhm.
um, let's talk about red carpets. I've seen you on several red carpets. It seems like it's very rewarding, you know, for
Mhm.
you to be out
Yes.
there. So, how did that come about? You getting on these carpets?
Um, like you said, a lot of hard work.
Mm-hmm.
When I first started, like right after college, I wasn't working, so I did have time to practice like 6 to 8 hours a day. So I was really big on social media as well. So I made a schedule, like I'm going to post either once a day or 2 or 3 times a
Right, right.
week. and consistency being the biggest thing. So I think hard work and consistency were the things that kind of propelled me to, or for other people to see, like, okay, I
Mm.
want her on my red carpet, or I want her to perform for,
Wow,
this
wow.
event or that event. So
Amazing. I actually had the opportunity to perform at the Sheen Awards with Joy.
yeah.
She had a spot on there, and she asked me to come on with her, and it was cool because I actually got to play with Lyrica Holmes. You know Lyrica Holmes, the
Yeah.
harpist.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Lyrica and Joy, I joined them with the soprano because I'm really an alto player, but I'm
Mhm.
learning to be a tenor player. But I got out of my comfort zone because I felt like I'm connecting with these two instrument that has different pitches. So and I
Mhm.
picked up the tenor. I kind of went the alto. I said, nah, I discovered that the soprano would probably be the best for that situation, and it actually worked out. We created a nice interlude.
That's
It
good.
was just amazing to be connected with horns, instruments that I knew that were orchestrated
Yeah.
instruments back in the days and what I
Yeah.
learned. So again, taking me back to my roots, back to my foundation. So um, anything that you know want to tell the people or tell the audience about yourself as far as what they can look out for or what you got brewing other
Mhm.
than I know you're gonna get that single together.
Mhm.
Is there
Yes.
any shows you have coming up that you want to talk about, any previous shows that we may have missed that you can tell us about?
Yeah, so I would say as far as shows, I did do my first festival performance at Taste of Soul.
Shout out to that
Um,
first festival performance.
you
Ebony is
def-
doing that thing. Go ahead.
sorry, but yeah, definitely shout out to Taste of Soul,
Mm.
for everyone involved. So like I had my own my own all black orchestra on stage.
Ooh,
I had a nice band with me. I wish I would have reached out to you because I was looking for a saxophone
wow.
player to come grace
I
the
would have
stage with
loved
me.
to do that.
Yeah, but that was, with that being my first festival. It was kind of a weird little situation
Hmm.
because I was in a situation where I was living where it wasn't
Yeah.
that
Well,
place.
peaceful. Peaceful.
And there was just so much going on, and there were times that I was just like, yo, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to do this. Like, I don't know if all of this music stuff, this
Mm.
festival, everything, like, I don't know, because I'm trying to make this, festival performance work, but it's just
Yeah.
like there's so many barriers. I was
Mm.
living an hour away from Atlanta.
Oh wow.
Financially speaking, it's like I don't feel comfortable as a musician asking musicians to play for me without getting paid.
Oh yeah.
At least gas money, at the very least,
Yeah, absolutely. Conversation.
Exactly.
Hmm.
So in my mind, I was like trying to figure that out, and then of course rehearsal space because I'm not about to get on stage if we haven't rehearsed. So
That's a big pet peeve with me, but people don't understand that.
yeah, it's just like
Yeah.
what
Because you're a musician, the expectations is you should be able to jump in.
mm-mm, mm-mm.
I can jump in, but I
Right.
won't be able to give you what you really want.
Exactly.
If you don't give me the opportunity to practice my craft.
Exactly.
So, um, I want to say this to you. Even in your struggles, there's blessings.
Mhm.
You know, for every struggle, there's a blessing. No matter how many struggles you're going through. So, the time you're going through something, you're being blessed with an opportunity to grace the
Mhm.
stage. How about that?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
sometimes we have to be, in our grace and be grateful for those opportunities. And you being a spiritual woman, I can just tell that no matter how many distractions, you don't give up. I can just tell you're a fighter. So
Mhm.
I can tell and I can hear the pain, but I can also hear the passion.
Yeah.
So there's more passion than there is pain.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
eventually you'll find a way to soothe that. But you know what you got to do. Number one thing is put God first.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So you are super amazing, being a black woman,
Thank you.
a black violinist, violist, you
A
know,
little bit of both.
a little bit of both. Um, I want to just kind of touch a little bit on, your past, and you talked about your mom having instruments and piano. Was there any talent from your mom?
She used to sing when she was younger. I remember she would take me to work, and they would have a choir at the post office that she was working at,
Oh,
and they would like,
a choir at the post
hmm
office?
I know, it's a little
Okay,
like,
all right. Shout out to the choir at the post office.
right. You gotta get Jesus in all the time.
Absolutely. Amen.
Praying over packages.
That is.
But yeah, she would take me to her rehearsals, and I would just sit and watch the choir, hear them sing and everything. Going into church, I sang a little bit. I'm not about to sing right now.
It's okay. I might have to ask you on the Bridges Hip Hop.
Um, But yeah, even in church, singing a little bit. My sister is an amazing vocalist.
Oh, wow.
And even on my mother's side, especially, we do have like drummers. Some of my uncles they play organ.
Oh, wow.
Um,
Coming like the Jacksons here. What's your last name? Oh, the Mitchells.
Mitchell.
Okay. Hey, listen. Evonee Mitchell and
Mhm.
the five fantastic.
Right. The five other musicians.
Hey,
Five
but you know
vocalists.
what? That's cool because that tells me right there that it's a burning desire for you,
Mhm.
and I can tell that you had a burning desire, and it's almost like genetics. You know, people
Mhm.
don't realize that genetics are real. Like they travel through your gene pool, and
Mhm.
you have, a spiritual connection from the beginning. You was probably in the womb thinking about how to pluck that thing.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, I commend you for your talent and everything that you are doing with
Thank you.
yourself, and again for the culture. It is super important. So, have there been any reach outs from any hip hop artists? Because I know a lot of times they've been reaching out to me now because they just think you can put the sax or the horn on everything,
On
and
anything.
sometimes you just, I mean, you can, but do you really want to?
Right. Yeah.
That's the question. So, do you
Mhm.
get any reach outs from people, or have you gotten any reach outs so far from people that want you to do these collaborations that you?
Yeah. So in the past, I've had quite a few people reach out to me. I would say recently, ASEAN has reached out. So the orchestra that I have, Noble Music Group,
Hmm,
um, she wanted an all black orchestra for her. What am I trying to say? For her visual EP.
okay.
And so I put that together for her and composed the music. And I did the same thing for Alex Vaughn. And I
Hmm,
would say both times, it's actually been pretty easy. There's been a few challenges, of course, trying to translate their R&B record to something that can be, taken on classically, making sure the players are in comfortable keys or as comfortable as can get them.
right.
So yeah, there's been a few challenges with that, but recently I would say, and rest in peace to him. But the last person that reached out to me was actually PNB Rock.
Hmm.
He had wanted an orchestra for one of his upcoming projects, and
Sad to say that.
yeah,
Yeah, rest in peace. Shout out
yeah,
to PB Rock. It was amazing talent.
yes,
But look at that. You
and
know,
very humble
there
too.
were you that there you go on the early scene of something that was about to be super great.
Yeah.
But you're still here. So the
Mhm.
spirit of what you're trying to do, I think you should take one of his records and you should just go ahead and complete it.
Yeah, I will.
Because that's the energy that was meant to be.
Yeah.
And I don't think you should let it go. Or maybe reach out to, the family and
Mhm.
dedicate a song,
Mhm.
because I know that that would have been super great and I would love to have seen that. But at the Bridges Hip Hop, this is where we bridge something old, something new, or something positive, something negative.
Mhm.
And the foundation of this show is a perfect opportunity, you know, for you to connect with, whoever you want to connect with, that you haven't connected with. You can tell people where to find you so that everybody will understand, you know, what your purpose is. Because a lot of times, um, women have, or men have a tendency to look, past the talent and past other things and look at the beauty and then look at the body and all those other things. But I can see you are totally serious about your craft. And I see you have your Instagram going
Mhm.
and your social media is important. I see your numbers are moving up there,
Mhm.
So I think that you are going to be super amazing to the world. And
Thank
I
you.
just wanted to give you the platform to talk about anything that you want to talk about. I know you got a few cats,
Mhm.
and I know that that's a spiritual connection as well because cats are very spiritual.
Yeah.
And I see that you have a lot of moving parts around you that mean that has a lot of purpose. So you're a very purpose type of person that
Mhm.
symbolic things mean a lot to you. So
Mhm.
I want to say that is you can't have a better connection with yourself.
Yeah.
So just keep doing what you're doing and keep putting that energy out there and get that record done. You know we have a studio here, right?
I know now.
Okay, so we have a full blown studio in here. We have engineers, we have producers. So
Mhm.
I would love, for you to come in here and work and get your single done or your album done here. Because
Definitely.
this is where we're building. We're
Mhm.
building this platform is about building. It's about bridging that gap. So if you're missing something, I want to be able to help connect it. You know, and of course, I I got a horn. I got another project that I'm working on. I would love to, do a collaboration. So,
Yeah, that'd be
real
dope.
quick at this point now, we still moving with some good time here. But if you want to send a shout out to anybody right now, now is the time for you to tell everybody where they can find you.
Hmm. So yeah, you guys can find me on Instagram. It's underscore Viola Goddess underscore. I am on TikTok. I'm trying to remember. I think my TikTok is the same. Tumblr, I can't remember my Tumblr username, but if you ask me, I'll give it to you. Facebook, I'm not really on Facebook like that,
Right,
but
right.
Evonee Mitchell, Evonee, you should be able to find me. Twitter, they doing too much. Um,
Yeah, they're
and
doing a
I'm not
lot.
a Snapchat person,
Oh wow,
so
yeah,
yeah,
I
that's
haven't
about
been
it.
on there in a while, but I hear there's a lot of interesting things going on Snap.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah, yeah. So any children, the
Mm-mm.
future,
Maybe in the
that you want that to carry on, your legacy, because sometimes we have this energy, and a lot of times the energy gets cut when a person feels like, okay, I don't want nobody to carry on this name or this. I think your instrument is so important to you. Or do you have any plans of teaching it to other people?
hmm
Yeah.
I've been thinking about it a lot recently, and it's definitely a commitment teaching.
Mm.
Um, I don't want to tell too much of kind of the ideas that I have to
Okay.
kind of
Yeah.
simplify it,
Absolutely.
but
Copyrights.
right. Copyrights and trademarks.
Trademarks. Yeah, let's do that.
um, but yeah, I think as of right now, I could take on like a few private students, but
Hmm.
for the most part, I'm focusing on performing, building my artistry.
Yeah.
There's something really new and exciting, at least to me, that I want to bring out to the world, showcase to the world. I'm just kind of just tightening things up with
Yeah.
the project that I have going on now. It's choreography based, so if you
You,
know,
you mean with the instrument and the dancing?
so like Lindsay
Oh,
Sterling, but with some seasoning on it.
oh, okay, little, yeah, little Tony's on that.
Little
Yeah.
Laurie's,
Yeah, I got you.
So that's one project that I do have up and coming. But yeah, that's pretty much it, to be honest.
Nah, man, so you got to respect the craft. Ebony,
Yeah,
you are super great,
thank you.
and I
You
really
too.
appreciate you coming onto my show and giving the people the business,
Yeah.
because again, you know, um, people don't understand the dynamics of foundation and beginning of just learning something and then working your way up to shows and things like that and being
Mhm.
faced with a lot of odds,
Mhm.
because sometimes you get there, the sound system ain't right. Sometimes you don't know whether to leave the hook in there, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Because the sound man, you didn't get a sound check, or you
Mhm.
didn't rehearse with the band and you got to jump on stage. So, I really respect you for, being able to navigate through all of that, because I know what it's like and I know the feeling. So,
Mhm.
from one musician to the next, keep doing what you're doing, and I appreciate you coming here, talking all that jazz with G Fields.
Mhm. Thank
Double
you.
salute to the viola goddess here, Ebony.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Okay.